Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into the world of real estate. It's a market with high stakes, lots of emotion, and honestly, often a whole lot of confusion.
That's for sure.
And picking the right professional to guide you through all that,
Yeah,
well, it's probably one of the biggest decisions you'll make in the process.
absolutely.
It's not just finding someone with keys to unlock doors, is it? It's really about finding a trusted advisor, someone who can, look out for your financial interests and handle all the tricky legal stuff.
That difference between just like an order taker and a real advisor, it's everything. If you look at successful projects in any complex field, the client, the buyer, the seller, they're the hero of their own story.
Okay.
They aren't actually looking for another hero. What they need is a guide. And that guide, the really experienced real estate pro, they've been there, done that. They have the specific knowledge to help the hero, the client, tackle this huge challenge.
Okay, so that sets up our mission for this deep dive perfectly. We're digging into the sources to figure out what those high-value activities really are. What knowledge do they need? What's the mindset that separates a truly valuable expert?
Yeah.
We want to give you, the listener, the tools to spot that guide when you meet them.
And it's so important to stress just how complex this all is. You hear agents described as worth their weight in gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because they found a house, it's because any single transaction involves, so many moving pieces, so many hiccups, so many terms people do not understand, and deadlines that must be met.
Right.
Think about it. The average person buys a home maybe once every, 7-10 years. They're completely exposed to risk without proper, detailed professional help every single step.
Okay, so if the agent is the guide, their very first job has to be tailoring how they work to fit the specific hero, the client.
Exactly.
Which brings us straight to a really core idea in high-stakes sales, moving from the golden rule to the platinum rule.
This is a huge shift, and honestly, it's a strategic necessity. The golden rule, we all know it, treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
But the platinum rule flips it. Treat others how they want to be treated. So for a top real estate agent, this means they can't just rely on their own habits or what feels comfortable for them. They have to consciously fit into the client's specific personality, their decision strategy, their learning modality, and their preferred communication style.
So the platinum rule isn't just like being nice. It's actually a strategy to make the whole decision process smoother for the client by cutting down friction.
Totally.
Can you break down those four things: personality, decision strategy, learning modality, communication style in a real estate context?
Absolutely. Okay, first, personality. Say the client's really outgoing, decisive. The agent needs to match that pace, focus on the big picture, maybe be more direct.
Okay.
But if client is more reserved, maybe cautious. The agent absolutely has to slow down, give them space to think, otherwise they'll just feel pushed and back off.
And the decision strategy, how does that work?
This is so critical. Some clients are all about logic, the numbers. They need the spreadsheet, the cap rate report, the comps, the 10-year forecast,
Right, the data.
Exactly. But other clients, they run on emotion. They need to feel the house, connect with the neighborhood story, the vibe. So if an agent just throws data at an emotional buyer or only talks feelings to a logical buyer, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
They're not giving the client the thing they need to say yes.
I get it. So if I'm, say, an engineer who wants data sheets, that's my preferred communication style. But my agent only wants to grab coffee and talk vaguely about schools. We're mismatched from the start.
Totally misaligned, even if the house itself is perfect.
Wow.
The successful pro gets that the meeting isn't about showing off their sales style. It's all about aligning with the client's needs, what we call their learning modality. Do they learn best visually? They need virtual tours, floor plans, auditorily. They need you to talk through the market trends, kinesthetically. They need to walk the space, touch things.
Okay.
The agent adjusts their whole presentation based on that.
And when an agent nails this alignment, you'd think that creates huge client loyalty, right? But it seems like connecting during the deal is the easy part. It's a long-term loyalty where things fall apart, which leads to this, frankly, shocking stat from the National Association of Realtors.
Oh, this number, it's like a self-inflicted wound for the whole industry. The study found that a massive 80%, 80 of consumers never went back to their original agent for another deal.
80%.
And they didn't refer anyone either. And the reason wasn't like a bad experience during the sale. It wasn't incompetence. The reason was incredibly simple. The agent just never called them again after closing.
Just vanished. Think about that failure in business strategy. They handle this huge high-stakes deal, earn a big commission, and then poof, gone.
Yeah.
And if you connect that to the money side, sources say it costs a business 10 times more to find a new client than to keep an existing one.
10 times.
So that 80% failure rate isn't just bad communication, it's actively destroying profit potential systematically.
The irony is just thick.
Yeah.
The top agents, the really high performers, they see follow-up as generating reliable long-term income through referrals.
Right.
But the other 80%, they treat closing day like the finish line, not the start of a relationship that could last, a decade or more. That follow-up is literally the difference between a one-time paycheck and building a stable business.
So what are the top 20% doing? What are those high-value follow-up things they use to keep clients? It's got to be more than a holiday card.
Oh, absolutely. Way more. The best agents provide value, not sales pitches after the close. One really key thing is automated property value updates. Even if the client isn't thinking of selling, they always want to know their equity.
True. I always check mine.
Exactly. Another big one, providing a curated list of trusted local vendors. Think plumbers, electricians, landscapers,
Yeah.
people you suddenly need when you own a house.
Yeah, that's useful.
The agent who gives you that list, they instantly become that go-to community resource again. And things like a quarterly market report, specifically for the client's neighborhood, focusing on appreciation trends. That's gold. It shifts the agent from just a salesperson to an ongoing financial consultant.
That shift seems key, from salesperson to consultant. So the agent masters the platinum rule during the deal, then keeps in touch afterwards with valuable stuff, and that's how they build long-term success.
That's the formula.
But that only works if they actually have the knowledge to back it all up. Let's get into the hard skills, the market expertise.
Right, the foundation. The core of an agent's technical skill starts with truly knowing the local market. For anyone, investor, or just buying a home, the starting point for any evaluation is the comps, comparable property prices.
This is absolutely fundamental. If an agent can't quickly pull up relevant, recent comps for a property you're interested in, that's a huge red flag.
Huge.
But like you said earlier, the real expert knows how to apply those comps. They know when the average price might not tell the whole story.
Exactly right. A rookie agent just averages the comps and prices it there. An expert understands strategic deviation. They know when it actually makes sense to list a house for more than the comps suggest. There are basically three main reasons, usually tied to scarcity or condition.
Okay, tell us about those scenarios.
Okay, first, condition scarcity. Let's say every similar house sold recently needed major work, kitchen redo, roof, whatever. But your house is genuinely 100% move-in ready, pristine.
Like actually turnkey.
Yeah, you can justify a premium. Buyers will often pay, say, $50,000 more just to avoid $20,000 worth of renovation headaches and months of dust.
Makes sense. What's the second?
Second is location scarcity. If that house is the only game in town for a super specific, desirable micro-location, that commands a premium too. Maybe it's the only house for sale zoned for that top-rated elementary school.
The school district effect.
Or the only one with lake access right now. That unique scarcity drives price way up. It's beyond just the average comp for the broader area.
That really highlights why the neighborhood focus has to be so granular.
Oh.
Okay, let's pivot to due diligence. The client finds a place they love. Emotions are high.
Yep, highest risk point.
This is exactly when the agent needs to shift gears. From guide to, like, rigorous analyst armed with a massive checklist. We need to go through this checklist, not just as features, but as potential financial landmines the agent needs to diffuse.
That's the right way to think about it. It's risk mitigation disguised as a checklist. Without this deep dive, the client is basically flying blind, exposed to some potentially catastrophic financial surprises after they close.
Okay, let's unpack this. Focus on the money consequences if something's missed. Start with location and zoning.
Okay, beyond the obvious stuff like schools and safety, the agent has to verify the exact zoning. Say you're an investor buying a house planning to rent out the basement on Airbnb.
Right.
But if the zoning forbids ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, your whole plan just imploded. Boom.
Yeah.
The agent also has to meticulously check for easements or liens. An unknown easement might mean the utility company can dig up your backyard whenever they want. Suddenly, half your yard value is gone.
Ouch.
And ignoring a lien. Well, the new owner inherits the debt, could even lead to foreclosure down the line. Major risk.
That's the external stuff.
Yeah.
What about the building itself, the condition, the major systems?
This is where huge money gets lost if you're not careful. An expert agent isn't just glancing at the roof. They should know the roof type, shingle, tile, metal, its rough age, and its expected lifespan. Replacing a roof isn't minor. It can be $15,000, $30,000 easy. Changes the whole financial picture.
Instantly.
Same deep dive for plumbing and wiring. If the house is older, say pre-1960s, the agent must check for outdated stuff like galvanized pipes or the scary one, knob and tube wiring.
I've heard about knob and tube. Why is it so bad?
Because finding knob and tube isn't just a fix-it issue. Some insurance companies won't even cover the house, or they'll demand a mandatory full home rewire before they do. That's maybe $10,000, $20,000 right there.
Yikes. That's terrifying detail. What else inside? HVAC.
Definitely need proof the HVAC and AC systems work, plus, ideally, their age and service history. A system nearing its end. Another $10,000 replacement looming.
Okay.
The agent should also dig into mold history. Not just is there mold now, but was there. And check if the insulation meets current codes that hits your utility bills every month. If there's a fireplace, asking about the last chimney cleaning tells you a lot about the seller's overall maintenance habits.
Right, it's a clue. And finally, the interior details. This feels like where assumptions can really bite you.
Oh, totally. This needs a strict inventory check. The agent must list exactly what stays and what goes and its condition. Itemize appliances, gas or electric, light fixtures, even things like draperies. A buyer might assume those gorgeous custom drapes are included.
And then they're gone on closing day, replaced with cheap blinds.
Happens all the time. The agent also needs verified measurements, square footage, room counts, and the condition of things like carpets, floors. Without this almost forensic level of detail, the client's just taking on way too much risk.
This intense level of research gets even more crucial when you look at specific niches, right? Where the agent needs to know specific rules, not just comps, like short-term rentals, STRs.
Oh, yeah. The STR market absolutely requires regulatory expertise. And an agent in that space needs to know not just the potential income, but the local rules, the taxes, everything. And they need to understand the risk difference between different types of markets.
I always figured big cities like New York or LA would be the best bet for STRs. Lots of visitors. But you're saying they can be riskier.
Often, yes, because big metro areas usually don't depend financially on tourism the way, say, a mountain town does.
Oh, okay.
So their city councils might feel less obligated to protect STR owners. The sources say metro markets often have really restrictive, tricky regulations because the city's priority is housing for long-term residents.
Right, competing priorities.
Whereas those regional, drivable vacation rental markets, like beach towns, ski areas, places where tourism is the economy, they tend to have more stable income potential and, frankly, less aggressive local governments constantly changing the rules.
Gotcha.
A good agent steers you away from a market that might suddenly ban your investment and towards one that fits your actual risk tolerance.
Okay, we've hit mindset and knowledge. Let's shift to the actual deal-making, the negotiation table. A top agent uses strategy here to protect the client, often starting with the earnest money deposit, the EMD.
Right, the EMD. It's that classic balancing act, speed versus risk. If a buyer makes an offer and can close really fast, like 2 weeks or less, the sources suggest a small, almost symbolic deposit, maybe just $100 or $500 might be okay with the seller.
Why so low?
Because the property's only off the market for a very short time, less risk for the seller.
But if the buyer needs more time, like 60 days, I know sellers want bigger deposits then. And in a hot market, wouldn't a tiny $100 deposit just make your offer look weak? Like you're not serious?
That's a really important point, a great challenge. In a bidding war, yes, a larger deposit absolutely signals commitment. A strong agent has to advise on that balance.
Okay.
However, the expert agent still tries to minimize that deposit size relative to the closing timeline whenever they can. And here's the crucial warning for the buyer from the source material. It's usually in your best interest not to put down a huge deposit.
Why not?
Because if you need to back out, financing falls through, inspection reveals a disaster, you have way less money tied up to argue about or potentially lose in a dispute.
Protecting the exit strategy.
Exactly. A smart agent knows protecting the client's ability to walk away if necessary is critical.
Smart risk management. Okay, what about creative deals? Agents should know how to structure things beyond a standard purchase, right? Like a lease with an option to buy. That lets a buyer lock in a property with just an option payment, not a huge down payment.
Yeah, it's a fantastic strategy for buyers who might be a bit short on cash right now but have good credit, or maybe need time to fix their credit before getting a mortgage.
Makes sense.
But it does complicate things for the agent's commission because the big closing payout could be years away.
Right. So how does an expert agent handle their fee in that scenario? They can't wait 2 years to get paid for the work they did setting it up.
No, they can't. The smart strategy is to stage the fee. The agent proposes getting part of their commission, maybe a third, right when the lease option agreement is signed.
Okay. Upfront partial payment.
Yep. And the rest is paid at the actual closing, whenever that happens. This gives the agent some immediate pay for setting up all the complex legal stuff and coordinating it all.
That makes sense. But what if the buyer doesn't end up buying? The option expires. Is there a way to sweeten the deal for the agent, maybe using the seller side?
Yes, the expert anticipates that possibility. They can negotiate a clause right into the listing agreement with the seller. It basically says, look, if this buyer doesn't close and the option expires, you, Miss Seller, agree to relist the property exclusively with me again.
Ah, so the agent gets some money up front and a guaranteed shot at the full commission later if the first deal collapses.
Exactly. It aligns everyone's incentives nicely. Everyone feels a bit more protected.
Clever. Okay, beyond structuring fees, let's talk actual negotiation tactics. The stuff that separates a rookie from a real pro. One technique mentioned is the push. Sounds aggressive.
It sounds aggressive, but it's more about finesse. The push is a gentle but firm nudge to get a client off the sofa of indecision.
The sofa of indecision. I like that.
Right. It's not about forcing them that violates the platinum rule, terrifies the client. It's recognizing when the client is just paralyzed. They have all the info, but they're scared to commit. The agent needs to create a little bit of immediate, focused urgency.
How do you create urgency without being pushy, though?
Usually involves offering a small incentive, but it's tied to acting now. For instance, the agent might say, look, if you sign the offer before 5 p.m. today, I'll knock 0.25% off my commission, or I'll cover the cost of the home warranty.
Ah, a little sweetener, but time limited.
Exactly. The source material says sometimes offering a small incentive is just the thing that will tip a customer to yes. The goal is to get the deal moving. Making a slightly smaller commission today is way better than making zero commission because the client gets cold feet tomorrow.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now let's unpack this other tactic, price anchoring. This sounds powerful. It's designed to shift the seller's focus completely away from the gap between asking price and your offer.
Oh, it's incredibly effective.
Yeah.
Because it totally reframes the negotiation. Let's say a house is listed for $190,000. Your client wants to offer $150,000.
Okay.
If the agent just sends over a single offer for $150K, what happens? The seller immediately fixates on that $40,000 difference. They feel insulted, maybe angry.
Right, the gap seems huge.
But the expert agent, they submit two separate legally binding offers simultaneously.
Two offers, how does that work? What would they look like in that $190K asking price example?
Okay, the agent calls the seller's agent and says something like, all right, we have two strong scenarios for your seller to consider. Option A, $150,000 cash, no contingencies at all. We close in 10 days flat. Guaranteed.
Okay, fast and clean.
Option B, $165,000. But this one's financed, so we need 60 days to close, and we need a standard inspection contingency.
Higher price, but more time and potential hurdles.
Exactly. By giving the seller two distinct viable choices, what happens? Their focus instantly shifts. It's no longer, they lowballed me at $150K. It becomes, which trade-off is better for me? Quick cash now or more money later with some risk?
They start comparing the two offers against each other instead of comparing the $150K against the $190K asking price.
Precisely. They're weighing speed and certainty versus price and time, apples and oranges. The painful asking price anchor just fades into the background.
That's brilliant.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's why price anchoring works. It forces the comparison between the offers, not against the list price. An agent who can pull that off strategically is worth way more than someone who just writes up whatever number the client says.
Okay, looking ahead now. The whole real estate world is buzzing about technology, prop tech. You might think this tech is going to make agents obsolete, but the sources seem to suggest something different. That these startups are more focused on fixing existing processes and squeezing agent fees.
That really is the key distinction, yeah. The tech isn't replacing the human element, the negotiation skill, the local knowledge, the relationship building. What it's doing is speeding up information flow and transactions.
Okay.
And that forces agents to adapt fast. They can't just be gatekeepers of listings anymore. They need to become sophisticated analysts, navigators of all this data.
So the real threat isn't being replaced, it's massive fee compression. Margins getting squeezed.
Exactly. Fees are under pressure across the board. Residential agents, commercial brokers, mortgage folks, title companies, you name it. PropTech offers things like AI-driven valuation models,
Right.
which means an agent can't just rely on pulling comps manually anymore. If an AI can give a pretty accurate valuation in seconds, the agent's value has to shift. Same with things like blockchain being explored for title and escrow that challenges those traditional roles and fees too.
So how does a good agent use this tech to stay relevant, to avoid getting squeezed out?
They have to lean into becoming strategic advisors and educators, not just transaction coordinators. Prop tech can actually help by automating the admin stuff, freeing up the agent's time
For what, though?
for the complex stuff, like helping an investor with portfolio planning or doing really detailed risk assessments for a first-time buyer. The agent of the future doesn't just run the comp report. They need to understand why the AI model gave that number and how local factors, that scarcity we talked about, might override the algorithm. They use tech to be a better guide, interpreting the complex data for the client.
That makes sense. Using tech to elevate the advisory role. And this connects perfectly to something more fundamental, more human. The agent's role as a storyteller. Even with perfect data, they're selling more than just a house, right? They're selling the story of the house.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. A home is just a great big ball of emotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every single purchase, whether it's a huge mansion or a tiny starter condo, it's tied up in the client's hopes, their identity, their future plans. The agent's real job is to connect the physical property to that deep, driving emotion.
So an agent selling a cool downtown loft isn't just selling square footage and concrete walls.
No way.
They're selling a vision of, like, creative freedom, sophisticated city living.
That's exactly it. The expert agent digs deep, not just into the house's features, but into the client's dreams. They have to find that little seed of a story that builds an essential connection between the product and the customer. They're not selling floor plans or zip codes, really. They're selling excitement, purpose, who you'll become in that space. And when you sell excitement, you can sell almost anything even, as one source puts it, a kind of sad, empty old house if you frame it right. Frame it as the blank canvas for the buyer's ultimate dream project. The agent has to be a master storyteller.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The picture of a really top-tier real estate professional is becoming much clearer. They're definitely more than just someone who processes paperwork.
Way more. They're meticulous risk managers, savvy negotiators, and genuinely empathetic guides through a stressful process.
We saw their success starts with internalizing that platinum rule, tailoring everything to the client's needs and communication style. And then, crucially, maintaining that relationship with high-value contact after the deal closes, avoiding that shocking 80% drop-off rate.
Yeah, that follow-up is key for long-term business. And underpinning it all is deep technical knowledge, the ability to go beyond basic comps and understand nuance, scarcity, and executing the incredibly detailed, almost forensic due diligence checklist.
Right, turning that checklist from features into financial risk mitigation, spotting bad wiring, undisclosed easements, aging roofs.
Exactly, preventing disasters, and then layering on those advanced negotiation skills, using the push carefully to overcome indecision, and using strategic price anchoring to reframe the whole negotiation in the buyer's favor. Plus, embracing technology not as a threat, but as a tool to become an even better analyst.
Okay, so wrapping up, here's a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on as you think about finding your own guide. We heard today that a common saying in real estate is, you list, you last, meaning the most powerful, often most successful agents tend to focus heavily on getting listings, representing sellers.
That's often where the leverage is perceived to be.
So, considering that reality, what's the fundamental difference, maybe in motivation, maybe in specific expertise, between an agent whose primary focus is getting inventory, listings, versus one who is dedicated almost exclusively to representing you, the buyer, and finding your perfect purchase? How should knowing about that potential difference in focus shape the questions you ask when you're interviewing agents and choosing your guide?